This is not a traditional mosque. We are inside a bakery.
This is a great symbol of the unity and the acceptance and tolerance of each other.
A Bible in Arabic.
We had to complete the Trinity.
I never would have thought. Even. Welcome to the island of Jerba in southern Tunisia. Today we are in this very famous island where Ulysses stopped with his men to eat the famous lotus, and they became addicted after they ate it.
And they didn't want to leave this island because it was so good. Today, lots of tourists come here. It's actually the most touristic spot in all of Tunisia because there's beautiful beaches and resorts for people to just relax. But
today, that's not what we're going to explore.
Instead, we're going to be exploring Jerba for another reason that it's famous. Jerba is famous for its culture of acceptance and tolerance of people from different religions and different cultures.
So, let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Assalamu alaikum. Lebes.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Mon ami, on veut aller à la synagogue.
Ok.
Mais combien ça coûte pour aller à la synagogue?
Prix 5 dinars.
5 dinars?
Hein?
Parfait.
Okay.
La synagogue El Griba. Voilà.
Oui.
5 dinars? Ah, parfait. Andiamo, 5 dinars. Parfait. Merci. Oui, oui, tout va bien. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. وانتي ça va bien?
Alhamdulillah.
وعائلة ديالك؟
Alhamdulillah.
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 La famille.
Allah يخليك.
Ah, on veut voir la synagogue. C'est joli, non?
Ah oui, très bien.
Ok. Mais après, on veut voir aussi une mosquée. Il y a beaucoup de mosques jolies ici.
Mosquée.
Des mosquées, oui, oui.
Le cérémonie ouverte maintenant à Fadloun.
Falloun, c'est pas à côté, c'est loin, non?
C'est loin, après à Midoun. Les autres, juste dehors maintenant. Pour les touristes, pour tout le monde, ouvert, c'est Fadloun.
Voilà. Ok.
I like the music.
And here we are. We just got to the synagogue El Griba in the neighborhood of Er Riyad in Jerba.
It's about 30 degrees Celsius, so in the 90s.
At least 30 degrees, probably even more.
The perfect weather for some sightseeing.
Let's go.
What's so cool about traveling is that it's always full of surprises. So we're in Tunisia, a primarily Muslim country, but right now we're in a synagogue. I had no idea that this was here before we came to Jerba. And look over here, this is a great symbol of the unity of people and the acceptance and tolerance of each other, because look, here we have the fish, the symbol of Tunisia, but also the Jewish star. Very cool.
And the story of this island in Tunisia, Jerba, is strongly tied to the history of the Jewish people. Jewish people have lived on this island for more than 1,000 years. And they've established a pretty strong and significant Jewish presence here. In a country like Tunisia, like you were saying before, mostly Muslims live, right? But then you come to Jerba and you find out that there was, and there still is, a pretty significant Jewish population that lives on this island. This region of Jerba is home to the largest Jewish community in North Africa.
Thousands of people come every year to see this synagogue, so it's really important.
So even though it might be empty this time of the day because only tourists would visit a synagogue this early in the morning, it becomes a very important place for religious celebrations and festivities during the year.
So now we're going from the synagogue in Tunisia to a mosque in Tunisia. Very close to each other, even the same road.
Right across the street, actually, we can see it from here.
And it shows how beautifully diverse this island is. This diversity, this acceptance of different religions and cultures is something that the people of Djerba pride themselves on, and is something that it's famous for in history. This is the mosque here that we wanted to visit. Unfortunately, it is closed, but not all is lost. There are plenty of other mosques that we can see here in Djerba. We're gonna go find one of those in a little while.
I mean, after all, Tunisia is the country of the 6,000 mosques. So we're gonna find one.
There's probably a few of them here in Djerba.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we're gonna go to a kind of open air museum called Djerba Hood, which is famous for all of its street art.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go check out a different type of religion, art. So unfortunately, our taxi has a wheel broken, so we have to take a new one. It looks like one came up pretty soon. Okay, crisis averted. We're in a new taxi. Hopefully, we're gonna make it on time.
We're not that far, so if we make it there in the next, we're gonna have a good 20 minutes to visit this mosque. It's crazy because that happened and the guy didn't even react. He just got out of the car and said, "What are you gonna do? Get a new cab?" What do you mean? Of course, get a new cab. What happened?
And he still made us pay. And that's how it is.
Yeah. Here we are. Welcome to the Mosquée Fadloun, or in Arabic, Jama Fadloun. Let's go. What's very particular about this mosque is that this is not a traditional mosque as the ones that you find all over the country, but it belongs to a very specific group of people known as Berbers, but more specifically Ibadite or Ibadit Muslims, which professed their and still profess their religion in this part of the country. So the first room that we see in this mosque, as in many mosques all over the world, is the ablution room, ablution in French, which basically means a place where you can wash your body, your arms, your legs, your feet, your face, before you go in the mosque, pure, clean, to pray.
And here we have the well. It's so deep, can't even see in the bottom.
Yeah, this is the well, but out here there is actually an area that collects rainwater. That right now it's empty, but usually that's what it collects. Bonjour. This is the storage room. The storage room for food. Let's see why. And so the reason why we said that the history of this mosque is connected to food is because we are inside a bakery.
I mean, this is really cool. Inside of a mosque, there's this place, like the bakery, where people would cook bread. And here is the oven.
Very dark, but yeah.
But I guess it's a traditional oven where all people were able to come and cook their bread.
And when you read about the mosque, and when you even talk to the person right at the entrance about this mosque, they all mention the fact that these mosques in this area always serve a religious purpose. But mosques, as in this case, just like churches, synagogues, and other religious establishments, they also help the community, providing them food, in this case bread, storing the food for it, in these very cool rooms and providing water.
So the physical nourishment and the spiritual nourishment.
Sure, good observation.
What's really cool about the bakery down here is that not only could you knead the dough, make the bread in the oven, and then store the bread all on this ground floor level, is that you actually have a mill here to grind the wheat. And here, this big stone is where the wheat actually gets grounded, but you would need animal power, so like a mule or a donkey or something to actually do the crushing of the wheat. So this bakery had everything it needed, totally self-sufficient, and not only did this provide a source of food for the people that lived here, but they also sold the bread, so it provided some important income.
So now in the span of an hour we've seen a mosque,
A synagogue?
and let's see if we can also see a church. Let's go.
Let's go.
And we are now in the neighborhood of Humet Souk, a stop that every tourist that visits the area of the island of Jerba does. It's the most popular tourist destination. There's a souk, beautiful market, but we're here not for the market, but for something else. The Church of Saint Joseph.
So a Catholic church here in Tunisia.
So in one day we can confirm that we have officially seen a synagogue, a mosque, and now a church.
It almost sounds like one of those jokes, like
Yeah.
three men walk into a bar.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it seems very closed.
Very unfortunate, because from the magnificent style that we can see outside, it would have been actually nice to see the inside, to see what kind of decorations this church has. The one thing that we can say is that clearly this is a Catholic church that was actually installed by two communities, the Italian community and the Maltese community, the community of Malta, which, by the way, the people of Malta speak a language that is also very, very similar to Tunisian Arabic. This is one of the last churches still used today on the island of Jerba, and what's cool about it is that they have mass in many different languages. So definitely worth a visit and worth visiting the mass if you are a Catholic. We had to come back. We had to visit this church, and thankfully it's open today. So let's go and see, let's go and finish the tour of churches and synagogues and mosques of Jerba.
We had to complete the Trinity.
It's true. So this is the Catholic Church of Saint Joseph. The connection that this church has to the island of Jerba is that this church served the Catholic community of Maltese people that lived on the island, mostly fishermen, and they used to live here. And since they were very religious, they decided that they needed a place where they could worship. They bought the area over there where the altar is, and there was just a little house, a fisherman house. They bought it and they built a church over it. So that's what we got here. The church is actually dedicated to Saint Joseph. And the interesting thing too, look at that, is the Byzantine style that most of the art here has, despite being a Catholic church.
And if you've watched our video, especially in Galiciano, you might remember seeing the Byzantine style in the Greek Orthodox Church. And here we're seeing it again. So over here, you're really seeing that Byzantine style, especially here with the yellow light. So it's just so cool how these things really just go over time and places.
All over the Mediterranean,
All over
I
the
would say.
Mediterranean, yeah.
And here's all the symbols of Christianity. So Jesus, the bread and the fish, Mary with the baby, and a Bible in Arabic. Kalma Allah, the word of God.
And here ends our pilgrimage to see the 3 different major faiths represented on the island of Jerba. We saw the mosque for the religion of Islam, the synagogue for Judaism, and finally the church for Catholicism.
It was a great tour, very informative, even easy to do with a lot of different cabs, but you know, the island of Jerba is very easy to visit and definitely worth exploring.
I'm just so impressed by this island, having all these different faiths represented, different cultures represented, in a time in our world where there's so much conflict and people have so much tension and hate towards each other. To see a place where people can have different beliefs and different backgrounds but still live in peace and harmony together is such a beautiful thing and something that we can all take away from a place like this.
Absolutely. Well said, well said. Thank you, Jerba.
Bye.
Ciao.